Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently, let me get my hat situated first of all. It is currently, let's see the time, 7:11 p.m. I'm getting started kind of late tonight, so I don't know how long I'm going to go. I'm starting to get a little bit tired. I filmed a video for my Peter Monn channel, and then I filmed my PO unboxing, which ended up being like 29 minutes long because I had so much stuff to go through. And then I did a review video of these Pringles versus Takis. So you can go check out those videos. And then I was cleaning out stuff from the kitchen. The kitchen is so much cleaner now that all the P.O. box stuff is gone. But I was kind of like situating my Starbucks cups. I have so many Starbucks cups now that I have them all situated in this one like cabinet that we have like next to the sink, like underneath it in the corner. But I can't fit any more cups in there, and I really don't have any other place to put them. And I have like 4 cups that I purchased like on the counter, and then I had like 3 that I had been using. So they were dirty, so I put them in the washer, the dishwasher, and was like getting stuff kind of situated in the kitchen and trying to clean up the kitchen and all that kind of stuff for Alex to come home. So I got the kitchen cleaned, and then I was putting away my ring light, my camera, and everything like that. And then Alex came home, and I was just talking to him upstairs before I got started. And then I made my DoorDash order of piata. So I got some piata for tonight and then also for tomorrow night as well. So yeah, last night I fell asleep at, did we watch something on TV first? I can't even remember. What did he do last night? Oh, Alex went out to dinner with his girlfriend. And then when he came home, he was like super tired, and I was finishing up eating, and then I was watching Grace and Frankie, which I actually was like Googling to see if this was like the last season, because I was like, I haven't heard them announce like an 8th season and all this kind of stuff, and I actually thought I was like a season and a half behind. I'm watching the 7th season right now. And when I started to Google it, it said that this was the last season, that it was not renewed after this, and they were canceling it, and that they had always kind of imagined it would be 7 seasons and all this kind of stuff. So I'm probably like 5 or 6 episodes from it being over, which is kind of crazy to me. I've watched Grace and Frankie from the very beginning. But this season, it's been out now for over a year, and I haven't, finished it. And I was asking Alex, I said, did you watch Grace and Frankie the last season? He goes, I started it. And I read this in the article. Apparently they put out like 8 episodes, and then or 6 episodes or something like that, and they released the other 12 like 6 months later. And he's like, I never watched the last 12 episodes. He's like, I've been meaning to do that, but I haven't done it. So I think I am on, well, I guess I could actually go in and look and tell you guys. Let me pull up my Netflix here really quickly. I wish something really great would come out on Netflix to watch this weekend. I am on episode 10, and there are, let's see how many, I think there were 16 episodes total. There were 16 episodes total, and so I have, I'm at almost the end of episode 10, so I have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 6 episodes left to watch. So I might just finish that tonight. I don't know, that'd be like, they're half an hour each. I think they're not even a half an hour each, or like 25 minutes or something like that. So that'd be about 3 hours. Let me pull you guys a little bit closer. So I might finish watching that tonight and just get it done. I've been watching it like an episode a night, episode and a half a night while I've been eating. By the way, this shirt, I have not worn it in several years, and when I used to wear it in videos, it was like skin tight on me. It's like one of my favorite shirts. I got it at Target years ago, and it's now like super baggy on me, you guys, but I still love it. It's like kind of like woven cotton. It's thick, and it's like one of my favorite shirts, and I forgot that I had it. But anyway, so when I got done eating and watching Grace and Frankie, I went upstairs, and he was like in bed, and I was like, are you going to sleep? And he was like, well, I was going to. He's like, but I'm thinking about watching another show. And I was like, well, what are you going to watch? And I can't remember what he said. But anyway, I said, well, I'm going to lay down for a little bit. And I literally was like out, like, I can't snap. I was like out in like minutes. And that was at about 10 o'clock. And I woke up. My plan was to get up, and I don't even think I set my alarm. My plan was to get up and like in an hour, hour and a half, and watch some shows. I wanted to watch Fear the Walking Dead, and start trying to get back into that show again so I can finish the season that I'm on. Which I don't even know what season I'm on of that. Okay, so I think the 7th and final season just came out. Let's see what season I'm on. Hold on a second. Pulling up Hulu. Fear the Walking Dead. I am on season 4, episode 12. And there are currently... It's not pulling up any more seasons. Okay. I guess the newest season is season 8. Because it says season 7 has 16 episodes. Or, yeah, 16 episodes. So I have 8 more episodes of season 4, and then I have season 5, season 6, and season 7 that are 16 episodes. So I have a lot to catch up on before I watch the final season, and the final season is out now. So, no. I'm on episode 12, and I'm like a third of the way through. So I have 26 minutes left. So I have half of that, and then 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have 4 episodes, not 8, of season 4, which is good because I'm done with this season. This season's so boring. And then I have season 5, season 6, and season 7, and then I'll be caught up with that. So maybe I'll just binge watch all of that. I don't know. So anyway, that's what I wanted to watch last night. But, it says my Piata, hold on a second, has confirmed your order. So it's not picked up yet. But, yeah, I fell asleep and I woke up and I was like, I was out. Like, I was out. And I woke up and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 or something like that. So I got up and I was wide awake. Probably from having slept 6 hours, like really deep. And so I got up and as soon as I got up, Boo Radley jumped down off the bed. And so he was wanting to go out. And so I took him outside and let him run around for a while, and then I got him back up in bed and gave him some treats and stuff, and then got him settled in bed with Alex, with his dad, I was gonna say, but with Alex. And then I was still wide awake, so I came out here and was just like looking at stuff online and like watching some YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I made a cup of sleepy time tea because I was like, okay, I don't want to be up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I want to go back to sleep for a couple hours. My plan was to sleep until like 9:30. And so I drank the cup of sleepy time tea, and then after that, and this is probably because I had slept so much, but I also took the melatonin, and because I was like wide awake, and I was like, I'm gonna need something to help me fall back asleep, and tossed and turned for like an hour and a half, and finally it fell asleep. I looked at the clock and it had been like an hour and a half since I had taken, hour and 20 minutes or something like that since I had taken the melatonin. And it had been like at that point like an hour and a half since 2 hours since I had drank probably 2.5 hours since I had drank the cup of sleepy time tea. And I wasn't tired. I was like wide awake. If Alex got up that early and stuff, I'd just start making videos then and be like, done making videos at like 2 o'clock or something like that. And so, but he's not, and he didn't go to work today till I think like 9:30 or 10 or something like that. So I finally fell asleep, but it took me a while. And so then I ended up sleeping in today till like afternoon. I was like, I'm just going to rest. And at that point, I wasn't even that convinced that I was going to make any videos other than my vlog. I was just kind of like, I wanted to do the PO unboxing because Alex has been kind of like, okay, are you going to get this stuff out of the kitchen? It's been sitting here for like 3 or 4 weeks now. It's been here for almost a month. And so like that was the one video that I was kind of like, okay, you've got to make this video. But other than that, I wasn't sure if I was going to do any other videos. And then I kind of like, I sat out here and I drank a little bit of iced coffee, and I kind of got like alert and was like woken up. And so I was like, okay. And I was like talking to my neighbor next door. She's painting her patio, and talking to my neighbor across the street about his golf game because he went and played golf today. And so I was like, I'm gonna make some videos. Like, I'm up now, I'm awake and whatever. So I made some videos and just got those up probably about a half an hour ago. Alex tomorrow night is going to Zubilation, which is this fundraiser for the zoo here in Indianapolis. And he got asked to go because I think like the last 2 years, it's kind of similar to Rev, the thing that we do, the fundraiser that we do for, what do you call it? The fundraiser that we do for, there's that girl walking her huge dog. She's got another dog too. It's like a boxer. She's got 2 big dogs. Beautiful dogs though. Oh, I think that's my neighbor's dog. Maybe she's walking it. Not my neighbor, but like over the other neighborhood, because he walks his dog like every night. And I think that might be his dog that she's walking. It's like a boxer. So anyway, it's kind of like Rev. It's like they have like food stations and stuff from restaurants here in Indianapolis and bars and whatever. It's like everybody gets dressed up and it's kind of like zoo theme a little bit and all that kind of stuff. So he got asked because he's done like the social media coverage of it for like, they have like a street team that does like all the social media coverage, like Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So he's done it the last couple of years and they asked him to do it again this year. So he got a ticket to go. And, he wasn't sure if he could get me a ticket or not. And he was like, do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel kind of, to be honest with you, like, I'm hesitant to even say this on here, but like, I have like, there's like a whole family of like bike riders driving down the street. 3 kids, a mom and a dad. I don't know how I feel about, I feel very mixed about it. Hey, how are you? I thought she was walking your dog. Did you see that dog that looks like yours? Oh, okay. I guess I wasn't his dog. But anyway, I feel very mixed when it comes to zoos. I don't know that necessarily how I feel. I'm not saying that I wouldn't go to a zoo. You know, when we went to go visit Fufu and Jesse a couple years ago in San Diego, we went to the San Diego Zoo. I just, you know, it's not about necessarily me being a vegetarian and things like that. It's just that there's a lot of things, and I haven't even looked into it with the Indianapolis Zoo, so I don't even know, like, all this kind of stuff. You know, Tanya was telling me that they don't adopt animals, that they, like, buy animals and things like that, which I take some issue with, but I don't know really how I feel about supporting zoos. To be honest with you, I'm kind of on the fence about it. We were talking about it in therapy the other day because our counselor was asking us, or therapist was asking, he was like, so Alex, you're going to it and Peter's not? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, so what's your issue with it? And he was like, do you care that Alex goes? And I go, no, I don't. I mean, Alex can do what he wants to do. Like, I think a lot of people think that because I'm a vegetarian, I have like really strict issues with the people around me, which I take no issue with at all. Like, I mean, Alex eats steaks, you know, my friends eat steaks or eat steaks and hamburgers and on and on and on. And like, that's their business. They can do what they want to do. They can support what they want to support, right? But I have to make some personal decisions. And so when Alex was like, do you want me to try to see if I can get you a ticket? He wasn't even sure if he could get me a ticket, right? I was like, don't even worry about it. So a girlfriend of his is going, and so he's going with her tomorrow night. And they'll have a good time. They'll have fun. And I didn't really, to be honest with you, want to go that bad anyway. So he'll have a great time and he'll have fun, and I'm excited for him. But he just went to Nordstrom Rack and he bought this beautiful blue suit. So look on his Instagram tomorrow because he'll have, you know, pictures posted with he and his friend. And his friend that he's going with is, so her husband, I think, is like working tomorrow, which is why they're going tomorrow. And they're the couple that we went to Florida with a couple years ago. And hold on a second. I'm just going to text. Is that my Piata? Your order has been picked up from Piata, Italian street food, and your dasher is on the way. So I guess my food is on its way. By the way, I have my glass. I do not have a Diet Coke tonight because I do not need any more caffeine. And I have this Original Reed's Real Ginger Ale, crisp, classic, and clean. So I thought we would try this. I was going to just drink it out of the can, but I thought, why don't you put it in a glass and be fancy? You guys like ginger ale? I do like ginger ale. I kind of go in and out of phases of like, sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. Tanya really likes ginger ale. So if I like this, maybe I'll buy her some. So Alex is going to that, and actually, Tanya is speaking at a meeting tomorrow night. She was asked to speak at a meeting, and so she was like, do you want to come over to my house, then we can go to the meeting together? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm going to go hear Tanya speak tomorrow night, and it was a friend of ours that asked her to speak, and Tanya's like, I feel like I just spoke at this meeting like 3 or 4 months ago. I'd gone with Tanya when she had spoke on a Friday night like 3 or 4 months ago. And so she texted her friend and she's like, is this the same meeting that I spoke at before? Because he was the same guy that had asked her to speak before. And he was like, no, it's a different meeting that I've been going to. And she was like, okay. And so she said to me on the phone, she goes, now if we get to this meeting and it's the exact same meeting that I spoke at before, she was like, I'm not going to, like, I don't want to get up there and, because you share your leads, you tell your story. And so, like, I mean, it's been 3 months or something like that since she spoke. And she's like, I don't want to get up there and tell the exact same story I told 3 months ago, you know, just a little bit variation. And I go, so what are you going to do? And she goes, well, you're going to speak. And I go, what? And she goes, if we get there and it's the same meeting, she goes, then you can speak. And I go, so I'm supposed to be prepared to go speak tomorrow night if you decide at the last minute you don't want to speak? She's like, yeah, it'll be good for you. And I was like, okay. So if we get to the meeting and it's the same meeting, I guess I'll be sharing my story and talking tomorrow night instead. So anyway, so that'll be fun. And I don't know if we're going to go somewhere and eat afterwards or not. We usually do that when, you know, one of us shares and gives our lead or whatever at a meeting. But because the meeting doesn't get over until like 9 or 9:30, I think, we might not do that, which is why I ordered piata. So I'll have that for tomorrow night. And then Alex on Saturday Saturday in Indianapolis is Pride Day, and with the Pride Parade and the Pride celebration and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't actually been in several years because usually they have it at the end of the month, which is around my birthday, and we're usually out of town. And so I haven't been in several years. This is the landscaping lady that's walking by right now. She didn't even look over at me or anything. She's usually, this year she's been real friendly, but she didn't even look over or anything. Alex and like 2 of his girlfriends and like 2 or 3 of his friends from college are going to brunch, and they're going to brunch downtown, like where the parade comes by, but they're not going for the parade. They're just going to brunch downtown for all that kind of stuff. And he's not going to Pride Day. He's just going for brunch, and they're going to hang out and whatever. And he's like, do you want to go? And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna skip that. And he was like, well, you can come if you want. And I was like, no, I think I'll skip it because it's gonna be so busy downtown, and like getting an Uber back, like they'll want to sit there for 3 or 4 hours and have brunch and catch up because they haven't seen each other for a while. And I'm like, no, I think I'll just sit at home and like listen to my audiobook, which I still haven't started because you know that was my plan for last night, and then I went to bed early, so I didn't listen to my audiobook, so that's my plan for tonight. So I think on Saturday I'm going to listen to my audiobook and catch up on Fear the Walking Dead and maybe make some videos or something like that. He's only going to be gone for a couple hours in the afternoon. I think his brunch is at like, well, I don't even know if they're getting there in time for the parade because I think their brunch is at like 1 or 2 or something like that. So, because I said to him, I said, if you're going to go to Pride Day, like I might do that. And he was like, no, I'm not planning on going to the actual Pride Day festivities and stuff like that. So that's our weekend, and then we'll go to brunch somewhere on Sunday. We might try somewhere different this week, I don't know. And then he doesn't have any plans, I don't think, Saturday night. So we might just like watch a movie or something or hang around here. We are going to start, we discussed this in marriage counseling the other night, that we are going to start every other week doing like really romantic dates. And so we're going to do it, like I said, every other week. And then one of us is going to plan the romantic date for the other person, like something that they would like to do, and vice versa. And so he's the first one, and that one's coming up next week. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, we go on dates anyway when we go out to dinner and whatever. But the thing is, like for Alex, because we basically like, we eat out or order in food a lot, and we don't cook. Like for him just to go to somewhere like to eat like the Cheesecake Factory or something like that, he doesn't really consider that a date because we're not like getting dressed up for each other, and we're not like trying to be romantical and all that kind of stuff. So like a date for him is like when you plan it out and you're like real intentional, and you're like, okay, we're going to go here for dinner, we're going to go here for dessert, we're going to take a walk on the canal or something like that. So I've been like really thinking about like what Alex would like. But the thing is that my date, the first date that I have to plan is when we're on vacation. And so he's like, well, you have to do something different for vacation, like for a date. I'm like, okay, so I got to like really think deep about what I'm going to do for something romantic for a date. But I'm excited about that. Because since I've been sick in the last 2 months, like before that, we were doing a lot of romantic dates. But since I've been sick, like I really haven't wanted to do anything except for just ordering food and just sit around here and watch TV. I think you guys know that. Like this is my safe space, my comfort space. And so we've kind of gotten away from doing the romantic dates, which is why we talked about it on Monday. So we're going to start doing that again. Which I think everybody should do. You know, I think, like, one of the things I notice, like, with my friends is, like, once they start having kids, and I know it's hard, trust me, I witness it with my friends, but once they start having kids and their lives become about, like, sports on the weekends and things like that, like, they stop going out on romantic dates. A lot of them stop taking trips together because they just can't. Like, it's hard to get, like, childcare and things like that, and so the quality time that they spend together isn't as much as before. And I will say, you know, like, since we've started marriage counseling, I don't know, like 7, 8 years ago now, 6, 7 years, I don't even know, because we started it while I was on YouTube, so 6 years ago, something like that. Like, we've been really good about, even if we're just sitting around the house, like, you know, having, like, getting to know each other better conversations and romantic conversations and romantic dates. Like, we've been good about keeping that up, except for when I got sick. And then since then, it's just kind of, like, died. And, like, one of the hard things for me is, like, being able to go places and eat things, like, that still scares me a little bit to not eat that. And actually, and that's one of the things I brought up. And he's like, well, that's one of the things you need to be aware of when you're planning these dates, is, like, what can Peter eat and things like that. But he said to me something about, like, his sister had gotten sick, and a lot of it, like, was she was eating a lot of, like, Mexican food at the time that she got sick. And so, like, afterwards, she never wanted to eat Mexican food because she kind of, like, associated with that. And there were certain foods that she was, like, afraid of eating because she was afraid she'd get sick. And he was like, you know, you have to get comfortable, like, trying to eat those foods again that you were eating before. Not to, like, force myself to, like, eat Subway or something, because I'm not wanting to do that. But he's like, you know, if, like, Alex is wanting to go and try a new restaurant, like, don't be afraid to go. And then, like, when you look at the menu, just try to, like, eat something that's, you know, kind of something that you think's not going to hurt your stomach that bad, which I can do that, you know. So I'm excited about that. We're going to come up with some romantic things to do. There are some things I want to do this summer. Like, I think one of the things I want to do is that the art museum has movies, like 1 or 2 Fridays a month or something like that. So that might be, like, one of the dates I plan. Alex and I, in the past, when we've gone to theater, we've really enjoyed that. And Indianapolis actually has a really cool, like, they have, like, gallery openings, and they have, like, like, outside theater and stuff like that they do in the summer. So I might plan some of that. Symphony on the Prairie that they do, which is at Conner Prairie, which is the settlement reenactment place that they have, the Prairie settlement reenactment. And then they, like, in the lawn, they have the Indianapolis Symphony plays, and they'll do, like one time they'll have, like, the Beatles, and then they'll do, like, Bach, and then they'll do, you know, like, all the music of The Who and something like that, you know, and then, like, maybe all the music of Stevie Nicks, which I would love. And so people bring out, like picnic dinners and, like, you know, wine and whatever, and that would be, like, a really fun date thing to do too. In the art museum, there's, like, beautiful grounds there that you can have, like, picnics on, so we might do that, you know, one date. I'm just kind of, like, really thinking about different things that we can do that would be really fun and, like, quality time to spend with each other. So and also, like, Alex loves to try a new restaurant. Like, that's one of his favorite things, is to try a new restaurant and then go somewhere, like, afterwards. It's, like, a new place to, like, not necessarily, like, a bar, but, like, loungy to sit and, like, have a drink at. So I think, like, that might be, like, one of the dates that I plan as well. Like, just finding he loves downtown. So, like, finding a new restaurant downtown that he hasn't tried yet, and finding some loungy place afterwards that he can have, like, an espresso martini at or something like that. Like, that would be fun for us too, just to sit there and talk and whatever. Because when we're on vacation, we do so much of that. And I think, like, one thing, like, one misconception is that, like, we don't spend a lot of time together, because people will be like, they'll hear, like, oh, like, you know, Alex went out to dinner with his girlfriend, or, you know, this or that, whatever. But, like, I mean, we really do spend a lot of time together, like, just laying in bed talking, or, you know, down in the living room or whatever, you know. And so we actually do spend a lot of quality time together. You guys just don't see it on video because it's after I turn the camera off. And but one of the things we were talking about is, like, on vacation, because we travel so well together, that like, you know, when we go somewhere, it's like we go to the beach or we go to the pool if it's somewhere warm, and then we'll come back and like take a nap together for a couple hours and then get dressed really cute for each other and then like go out to dinner, and then after dinner like go somewhere and, you know, sit around, and I have a cup of coffee and he has like a glass of wine, and then we go back to the room and maybe like find a movie to watch together and whatever. Which Alex would consider that like a really romantic time, right? Which I do too. And so we were talking about like how to implement that more like once a week or once every other week into our lives here, like how to bring the vacation home, so to speak, because then you're like, you know, people always ask like when we do Q&As together, like how do you keep the passion alive? How do you get that? I think people misconstrue the idea of, she literally just walked around here like 2 minutes ago. She walks so fast. She usually has this big dog with her. I don't know where the dog is tonight. But anyway, I think people misconstrue the idea of passion sometimes as having to always be like intimacy or sexual. When like, one of the things that I love that brings us closer together is when we have conversations, not necessarily about issues, but like when he'll tell me stories about like growing up, or I'll tell him stories about growing up that like I've never heard before, he doesn't know, or whatever, you know, or I mean, we always check in with each other at the end of the day. Like, he just came home and I was upstairs and I was like, so what was your day like? And he told me about his day. And he's like, what did you do? And I told him about my day. And then he showed me the suit. And then he was laying there, and, you know, and then he started playing his game and whatever. And I said, okay, I'm going to go vlog before it gets too late. And he was like, okay. And so we'll probably watch, like, I think The Real Housewives of Orange County came on last night. So we'll probably watch that tonight while I eat. He ate earlier in the day, he said. But I think that's the one thing about, like, keeping passion alive. It's not always about, like, I think for a long time I always thought it was about like intimacy and like, you know, sexual intimacy and things like that, when we were in therapy before and we learned about the 12 points of intimacy. And there's recreational intimacy, you know, there's relationship intimacy, which is like relationships you have with other people, and there's spiritual intimacy, and there's financial intimacy. There's all these different forms of intimacy, right? And so the more connected you are through these different points, like physical intimacy is only one of those. And the more connected you are through all these points, the more connected you are as a couple. And to keep passion alive, I think sometimes is about getting to know that person over and over and over again, you know, and realizing that that person isn't going to be the same person from the moment that you met them to the moment that you guys die. Like, they're going to change, they're going to grow, they're going to have new interests and whatever. And I think, like, that's one of the things is, like, Alex and I talking about, like, new music that we love or new movies that we love, you know, or I'll tell him about a book I'm reading or a true crime documentary that I watch, and he'll tell me about something, you know, or like he watches a lot of TikToks, and so he'll tell me about these TikToks that he's watching, you know, or new interests that he has and things like that. And I think that that's important. I think it's important to find out new things about that person, because then you fall in love with that person all over again. And for me, that's kind of like part of what keeps the passion alive. It's not just about making sure that you're doing it all the time. I mean, I do think that that's important too. I do think that physical intimacy is a really important part, because I think the closeness and the physical connectedness is really a big part of that. Like, one of the things that Alex and I have always done in our relationship, even when things were really bad, even when we weren't getting along, even when we were, you know, thinking we were going to go our separate ways and whatever, was I don't even know how we kept it up through all this, but we always kissed each other good night. He always kissed me goodbye in the morning, still does, you know. We're very affectionate towards each other, you know, holding hands in the car and things like that, and you know, hugging and just standing in the kitchen, hugging, talking to each other. I mean, we've always been like that, and that's part of physical intimacy too. Like, I think often we think, I think this is my Piata, because this person's coming down the street really, really slow. I think often that we think, yeah, because I just got a text, it's approaching with your order. I mean, I think a lot of times we think that physical intimacy has to be sex, when that's just not the case. Physical intimacy can be, you know, just like holding somebody and they just drove by. Physical intimacy can just be like holding somebody or holding their hand or whatever. And I think it's also important to talk about that as far as when it comes to, you know, like couples that have the inability to engage in sexual intimacy anymore. I'm gonna go get this. I'll be right back. How are you? Good. It's so pretty. Have a good evening. Okay. Where am I at on time? Oh, I'm like at 29 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm gonna stop this, put my food inside, and then I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. My food is inside, my sandwiches are in the refrigerator, my pasta's out on the counter, and I asked Alex, I said, do you want to watch The Real Housewives of Orange County when I get done vlogging, and I can eat my dinner and we can watch it? And he said, yeah, sure. So he's upstairs laying in bed. He said it's so hot, he's got the fan on and everything like that, just relaxing in bed. And then Boo Radley ran downstairs to check and see what was going on. He's got to make sure he's, you know, knows what's going on at all times. But like, I think, what is this text message? Oh, my DoorDash has been delivered, it says. I think, you know, I have a lot of friends of mine that are like older, and for whatever reason, you know, a lot of it being chronic illness and things like that, they're, one or the other partner is no longer able to engage in physical intimacy very often, you know, maybe once in a while, but not very often, or they don't feel well enough to do so, or they're too tired, or they just don't feel good, you know. I mean, this is something that we don't really talk about, but like or maybe they don't have the ability to, you know, things like that. That doesn't mean that physical intimacy has to stop, you know. Just holding somebody in bed, just holding their hand, or just being touched, I think is such a huge part of physical intimacy that I think we always want to think that it has to be a sexual thing when it doesn't necessarily have to be. Although, like I said, I think that's a really important part of relationships. But it doesn't have to be everything, you know. Like, when my mom was really, really sick, and she was alone and all of that, like, I can remember she would say things like, she always wanted people to like brush her hair, and she would say, and it was a lot about being alone, and she'd say, she'd say like, I miss being touched, you know, like, and she didn't mean that in like a weird way. She didn't mean that in like a sexual way. She meant she missed being hugged by her sister, by her kid, by, you know, whatever. She missed having somebody hold her hand, and, you know, and I think that's like, I can remember like when I was in the hospital and there was this one nurse, and whenever she would come in and talk to me, this was just recently, whenever she would come in and talk to me, she would hold my hand, and it just like, that physical touch just meant so much to me, you know. Like, I didn't know her, like, it wasn't like any deeper than just like her holding my hand, but it really meant a lot to me, you know. Like, and she would sit there and she would just listen to me, and, you know, she would talk to me and she would hold my hand the whole time, and it just felt so reaffirming. So I think it's important, and I think it's important for couples to have those conversations, you know. And I think that sometimes, a lot of times, the person that we should be having those conversations with, our partner, about why we can't do these things, or why we're afraid to, or too much time has gone by and we're scared to do those are the people we should be having those conversations with, and we're not having those conversations with, you know what I mean? So, you know, passion is not just about sexuality or sex. It's not just about sensuality. You know, passion is about continuing to fall in love with that person all over and over again. It's about the butterflies in your stomach. And I'm so thankful that I still have those for my husband, you know, that not every second, but, you know, when he walks into the bedroom, I'm like, oh my God, like, I love my husband. Like, he's, you know, I'm so thankful that he's mine, you know. And I think that's what it's about to me, is those butterflies that you get, you know, and whether it's at the beginning of your relationship or 40 years later. And so, yeah. But I think it's really important to have those conversations, and if you can't have those conversations with each other, because I do think that was one of the things that was hard for us, like at the beginning, when we started marriage counseling, was I don't know that we knew how to initiate those conversations with each other. And so to have a third party that would initiate those conversations for us, like, really helped us. Now today, we're able to do that. He's in the kitchen. What is he doing in the kitchen? What are you doing in there? Hello? I can hear him in the kitchen. He said he wasn't hungry, but he's probably cooking something. I feel like I hear the air fryer on. Anyway, enough about that. I think even just talking, you know, and like having having deep conversations about things and asking your partner like how they feel about things and whatever is important, you know, and having, and it's okay to disagree with your partner's stance philosophically or spiritually or, you know, religiously or politically on what they believe in, you know, but like to have those conversations, I think even deepens the bond with the other person. You know, thankfully, I think like Alex and I, other than spiritually, we kind of see the same in most things. But the thing spiritually is like he respects my stance and I respect his, and I think that that's important. And he'll even ask me questions, you know, like if I seem like real off or whatever, like I just seem irritated or whatever, he'll say to me like, have you prayed today? And that's not because he believes in prayer. That's because he knows I believe in prayer, right? He'll be like, have you prayed today? Have you done your meditations? Have you done a gratitude list? Like that's saying a lot of respect, right? In a relationship, that he knows how much that means to me, that he'll ask me that question, you know? And so, and you know, and I've asked him, we've had tons of conversations about his stance on, you know, being an atheist and why he feels that way and whatever. And he has a lot of really personal beliefs as to why, of what has led him to feel that way. It's not just like he woke up and he was like, there's no God. And it's like, you know, a teenager questioning religiosity or spirituality. I mean, there's reasons why he feels that way. And I respect that, you know, and it's never been my goal to change him or anything like that. It is interesting that both he and my last boyfriend were atheists when I met them. And my last partner, I would say, my last boyfriend was more of an agnostic when we broke up. Like, I don't know that I necessarily, like, changed him, but I think he started questioning some things. And I think over time, like, Alex has questioned some things and has gone back and forth on his belief system, but still stands pretty firmly in what he believes, you know? And, like Tiny and I were talking the other day, this is totally completely different subject kind of, but we were talking the other day when we went to our meeting about like, I can't even remember what we were talking about, but we were talking about something, I can't remember what we were talking about, but she said, somehow Pride Day came up. This was on the way to the meeting, and she said, I just don't understand like why people have the inability to share conversations with each other and have conversations like and talk. And I was telling her about like why like the idea of Pride Month and the concept of pride is important to me, which I've shared on this channel before, right? And I was telling her about like, you know, hiding in the shadows and being ashamed of myself and being, you know, embarrassed or, you know, feel like, and it was really interesting that I wish it was still up. Let me see if it is, because it was so powerful. Oh, here it is. Here he is. No, I don't think it's still up, but here he is. Hold on, I don't think it's still up though. No, it's not. So Dakota, who is from Print Fairy on TikTok, that they do he's a friend of mine, and I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he and his husband do the TikToks where they go to restaurants and they eat, and they'll say for to drink, and then they share like what they had at dinner and stuff like that, and I love them, and they're just such a sweet couple. And Dakota shared this whole thing on his Instagram story. It was like written out yesterday about like how cruel kids were to him when he was growing up, and when he started standing up for himself, he was the one that got put in detention. He was the one that got, you know, in trouble for it. And that he had his mom, and his mom, which in my case was my dad. But my mom was defensive of me too, but she didn't really know the full picture, because I knew that if my mom knew the full picture, she would literally go ballistic on every person that had ever come for me. But he was saying that his mom had always defended him and loved him unconditionally, and it was just like, you know, on and on and on. And so I reached out to him and I said, I'm really proud of you for sharing your story. Like it was, who was texting me? And I said, I'm really proud of you. And I said, he shared in there a lot about like he didn't even know how he identified yet, and he was going through self-discovery, and people were calling him names, and they were stealing basically his identity from him before he even knew what it was. And I texted him and I said, I just want to say I'm proud of you for sharing your story. Like, it's so similar to my story, you know, even with like the age gap and whatever, because I think he's close to 30 or something like that. And I said, but I went through the exact same thing, and I said that a lot of my vlog, that people stole that journey from me because they were calling me those names. They were stealing that from me before I could come out and come, you know, about it on my own, which that was my life. I had a right to do that on my own without having all these people steal that from me. And he sent me back a really nice response. But so Tanya and I were talking about, you know, Pride Day the other day, and I was telling her about this concept, you know, like why the idea, not just of a month, not just of a day, not just of a parade or a festival or whatever, but like why the concept of pride is important, you know, because it's the opposition to shame, and why pride and saying that I'm a proud gay man is important for me today. Like, those words I don't take lightly. Like, that's important for me. And what Tanya said was, she was like, I just don't understand why, like, we can't get together and have, like, conversations about this without, like, shutting the other person down. And I said, well, I think social media, like, really, you know, affects us a lot, because people want to be right, people want to be heard, people want to go viral, people want the most likes, people want their stance to be, you know, liked the most. I don't even think some people really care what their stance is. I think they just want it to be noticed a lot, and it's like validation, not necessarily of their stance, but of them, right? And so it's like, oh, well, I got, you know, 1 million likes on my tweet or whatever, so therefore, like, I'm right or whatever. It's this whole idea of being right versus being happy or whatever. And Tanya and I were talking about how, like, in 25, 26 years of being friends, there's been a lot of things that she and I haven't seen the same side on, but through conversations, you know, where I'll say to her, like, well, Tanya, I don't see things that way. And she'll say, well, let me explain to you my experience, right? Or, you know, vice versa. He is cooking something in there. I can smell it. Or vice versa. And then, you know, and we don't always change our opinions, but I will say that I feel like over time, like, we have to some degree, you know, because of personal experiences that she's gone through, personal experiences that I've gone through. And when you hear somebody else's experience, you know, like I always say, like from the book To Kill a Mockingbird, when you walk around in their front porch in their shoes for a little bit, like, you see a different side to what they've gone through, right? And she was like, I just don't understand why we can't have conversations with people anymore. I don't know, like, it just makes me sad, you know? It's like, we've gotten away from this idea of having open conversations and hearing somebody else's point of view. We're so afraid of that. We're so afraid of listening to what somebody else has to say that, you know, that, I don't know, that maybe their experience is different than ours. And what's so frightening about that, it doesn't make their opinion right just because their experience is different than ours. We don't have to say, well, you're right. You know, you can say, I'm going to listen to what you have to share, and that might affect my opinion, it might affect my belief system, but it might not too, you know? But we have shut down any ability, the majority of us, I think, to be willing to listen to anybody. And it just makes me sad. And I love having conversations with people. I love hearing other people's points of views and things like that, you know? And then it morphed into a whole conversation. And we had just like a really good conversation about that on the way. Well, it started on the way there, and then it was on the way back too, but I don't know. You know, when you think about how many people there are in the world and how each person's experience, their life experience, is so completely different from the next person, from who their parents were to how they grew up, to their financial backgrounds, their academic backgrounds, to ethnically and culturally who they are, to everything about them, right? To their age at the time that you meet them or whatever, to whatever life experience they've gone through, to whatever trauma they've gone through. To say that everybody is going to have the same belief system as you is just, there's no way. It's not possible, right? Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Where's the wife? It's cool outside. Resting. Okay, tell her I said hi.
Will do.
It's, it is so nice. there's just no way that everybody's going to have the same opinion. I mean, everybody's opinion is going to be affected by what they have lived through in their life experience. And so to expect that everybody's going to have the same experience or the same opinion is just, there's no way that that's possible, right? But imagine if we were willing to be open enough to say, and I think really, if we were open enough to say to the person that we most disagreed with, that we most looked at their opinion and thought, I can't align with this at all, and said, okay, and I know that this opinion is not going to be popular, that I'm about to say, but if we were willing to say, to open our hearts and say, okay, I don't agree with you, but share with me your experience of how you got to your belief system. Like, explain that to me. That doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to co-sign it. But explain to me why you got that to that point so I can better understand where you're coming from. We might be a little bit more of an understanding, society. I don't know. Like, I was telling Tanya, like, it's like, one of the things that's baffling to me is, like, I will say in my life, like, and I was raised going to a church, a Lutheran church and things like that, and I didn't really have any bad encounters in my church. Like, I have a lot of friends of mine that went through traumatic experiences religiously growing up, like, a lot. Especially friends of mine that grew up Catholic. They just had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and a lot of things. And friends of mine that grew up evangelical as well. I didn't have that experience. I mean, my church was pretty liberal. I don't remember ever leaving church and feeling like, I was this huge sinner and, it was, hellfire and brimstone and things like that. Like, that was never, like, preached in my church. Like, my church was an environment of forgiveness and love and compassion and kindness. And what I was saying to Tanya was, it's interesting that when, people attack addiction or they attack, like, the LGBT community or whatever from a Christian stance, like, it's always about, like, well, you're wrong because of this, or you're wrong because of that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's so interesting to me about that is, like, and I've had a few encounters in my life where people have come to me and said, like, I'll never forget, like, when Melissa and Jason are very involved in their church and go to their church every week and stuff like that. And I can remember one time Melissa said, well, if you ever want to go, like, our church is, like, very open. There's a lot of gay couples that go. And if you ever want to go, like, feel free. Like, just call me up and you can come with us. And it was like, no. And I can remember thinking to myself, if I was going to go, like, you're the one I would go with. If I was going to go and I was going to be open to that experience, that would be the experience that I would be open to, because you made it unafraid for me, you made it compassionate to me, you made it caring to me, and you weren't forceful, right? But when people come at you and they say, well, you're a sinner and you're horrible for this and you're going to hell from this, to me, to be honest with you, I thought Christ was about love, compassion, kindness, and forgiveness and understanding. So, and I was always taught that Jesus loved the sinner and Jesus loved the people that were lost and things like that. So for me, when people call themselves Christians and they come to me and they, like, are, it's all about damnation and hellfire, I'm like, okay, first of all, you've lost me, because that's not the language that Christ spoke in, as far as I'm concerned. And I was raised in a church and went to church for 15 years, and so I feel like I know a little bit about it, right? That was never the language that I was taught growing up. Maybe that was the language that you were taught growing up, but are you trying to condemn me, or are you trying to help me find salvation, or are you trying to change my opinion or my belief system? Because I can tell you that what you're doing when you're coming to me with hatred and damnation and hellfire is not going to convince me otherwise. Like, what you're going to do is you're going to turn me off from that, right? So if you really were somebody that was a devout Christian, that had love and kindness in your heart and really wanted to help somebody else, wouldn't you approach them from a point of love and kindness? Like, that's always very interesting to me and very confusing. Like, I don't understand that, right? And like I said, I've had several good experiences in my life where, I remember, like, working in treatment, and I had this woman, like, when they were leaving treatment, she gave me the Book of Mormon, because they were Mormon. And I remember she said to me something to the effect of, just read it. Like, she inscribed something, I can't remember what she inscribed in it, but she was like, just read this, be open to it. Like, she was like, I don't want to force this on you. If you don't ever want to read it, you don't have to. But she was like, just be open to it if you want, you know? And I can remember thinking that, and it's not like I'm going to turn tomorrow and be Mormon or anything like that. Although I don't hold it against anybody that is, you know, do you, right? I mean, I've heard some pretty skeptical things about the Mormon church, but it's other people's business, not mine, right? But I can remember, like, feeling so seen in that moment that she wasn't, like, trying to force it on me. I didn't feel like it was, like, I've had people in my life, like, give me Bibles as gifts, and, like, it felt almost like they were trying to teach me a lesson or preach to me indirectly. It didn't feel like that at all. It felt very loving and kind to me, and she was like, if you don't want to read it, you don't have to read it. If you don't want to open it, don't open it. She was like, I just want you to have one of these because this means something to me, and I care about you, and you've been so helpful to all of us, and I want you to have this because this has been something that's been helpful to me. And it just seemed so genuine in that moment. And I've had a lot of encounters like that with people, you know? Like, well, maybe not a lot, but I've had several encounters in my life where people approach me with love. And that to me, if you were really concerned about somebody's soul and whatever, why wouldn't you approach them from that point of view? Like, why would you approach them from, well, you're a sinner and you're going to hell, and because of how you choose to live your life, you know? Which is always crazy to me when people are like, oh, you choose your lifestyle. I'm like, listen, okay, if you knew what I had gone through in my life for being gay, and I haven't even gone through as much as the majority of the people that are out there, okay, that are in the LGBT community. If you knew what myself and other people went through, the hell that they go through just by living their truth and living their life, if you knew the hell that we went through, trust, we would not choose this, okay, period, end story, you know? I mean, just the bullying alone. I mean, I'm so grateful that I had the parents and the family that I did that was so accepting and loving of me. Like, I feel so grateful for that. I mean, I have heard horror stories from people, friends of mine that were professional people that had amazing educations and were really, like, you know, great citizens of, you know, their cities and whatever, and as soon as they came out to their parents, you know, they had been in, like, relationships for 5-10 years and whatever, and as soon as they came out to their parents disowned them immediately, you know, and were like, oh no, we want nothing to do with you anymore. All based typically on religiosity. What's so interesting to me about that is that I thought Christ was about love and kindness and understanding and compassion. I didn't know that Christ was about closing the door on somebody. And in fact, the stories that I've heard and the stories that I've read and the stories that I've studied, when I was growing up, Christ didn't close the door on people, you know? So it's confusing to me. And if that's how people want to live their life that way. But, like, you know, it's confusing to me when people want to kind of, like, preach all that, but then it's like they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, you know? Like I said, you know, it was so funny because Tanya and I were talking the other day, and she said something I had just said in a video that somebody else said to me, like, a day before that, which is, like, if you don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married, you know? It's like, really, it really is that simple, you know? Like, I don't know how my husband and I getting married really affects that many people out there in the world, you know? I really don't. And, like, I was actually talking to my neighbor across the street, and I think she's, like, in her 70s or something like that, and, you know, I said to her, we were talking one day, and it was funny because I had found out later that she had, like, gone to these gay bars that I used to go to back in the day and whatever, but, like, I said to her, I said, you know, it's just one of the things that's so nice is how accepting everybody is in our neighborhood. I mean, we're the only gay couple in this neighborhood, right? And everybody is so accepting. They're always like, hey, Peter, hey, Alex, how are you guys doing? Oh, little boo, it's so cute. It's so good to see you. You know, everybody's so nice to us in this neighborhood. And I said something to her, and, you know, like, I mean, she's a completely different generation than I am and whatever, different belief system, and she looked at me and she goes, I mean, it's 2023, Peter. She was like, I mean, there's gay people everywhere. She was like, did you expect something different, that people were going to be rude or nasty to you? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I have experienced that in my life, right? So to be in a neighborhood where people are so accepting and loving and kind and amazing, and just, I think it's beautiful, you know? Because to some degree, I do expect the opposite of that. And that makes me kind of sad. I wish I didn't, you know? And I think that that's probably a result of what I went through growing up, that I'm always, you know, it's always the opposite of, you know, whatever, that you think that people are going to be mean to you instead of being kind to you. But, like, I say this a lot in all of my videos, you know, that I'm never surprised, or I'm always surprised by the kindness of strangers, you know, like, I love when somebody surprises you and treats you different or contrary to what you think they're going to treat, like how they're going to treat you or what they're going to say or what they're going to do. Like, to me, that's where there's hope for our future and hope for the people that are out there. And when it comes from the most unexpected places, you know, like, I think that that's amazing. You know, when it comes from somebody that, surprises you, that they're so full of love and compassion and understanding and, you know, and whatever, and forgiveness and hope and kindness and whatever, on and on and on. Like, I love that. Like, I think that gives me hope, you know, and that doesn't have to be on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else, or a YouTube video, you know, or anywhere on social media. That can just be in your day-to-day of somebody passing you by, you know, and just treating you as they would treat anybody else, and not seeing you as any different. I don't know, I think that's pretty cool, you know? So anyway, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to eat my dinner and watch Real Housewives of, I was going to say Atlanta, but Real Housewives of Orange County with my husband. I think we might have the Real Housewives of Atlanta too, or did we watch it the other night? I don't remember. What is Thursday? We've watched Real Housewives of Atlanta since then. But anyway, because it was on Sunday. So anyway, I'm going to get off here now. My battery is at the halfway mark, so it's going to start flashing in a second anyway. And I think I've been speaking for almost an hour, like 56 minutes? 56 minutes as of like, well, here in a couple seconds. But anyway, so I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Thursday. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Like I always say, you might be putting a smile on their face, you might be cheering them up, you might be making them happier, or you might just be making their day, you don't know. And also, be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, no matter who they are. And be kinder to one another, love one another, and be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more. I almost forgot what I was going to say. Be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more, because it all starts with you. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more, I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy birthday, Lena.